Welcome to the first class of Marine Biology. I am Dr. Amit Kumar, Scientist D in the Center for Climate Change Studies, Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology. When we talk about the marine biology, it is the study of understanding how the marine organisms lives, what they do, what are the different diversity there are. So basically, it's a combination of functional biology and ecology. Through the functional biology, it means how an organism carry out basic functions. Example, reproduction, locomotion, feeding, cellular and the biochemical processes. So basically what kind of questions we do ask in the functional biology is population dynamics. What are the population dynamics of the marine organisms? In the ecology, it as the name suggests, it's an interaction of organisms with their physical and the biological environment and how these interactions determine the distribution and abundance of the organism. So we do have several abiotic and the biotic factors in the marine environment, and what sort of questions we ask in the ecology is what are the factors determining the dominance of one species over the other, or for example what are the ways or how the coexistence of diverse organisms in a particular ecosystem, complex ecosystem, for example in the coral reefs. Further, marine biodiversity is one of the another important factor which the marine biologist studies. So basically with the biodiversity, what do we mean? We mean what are the different genotypic diversity of a species present in the marine environment, what are the different species available in particular marine ecosystem, or within the ecosystem as well as between the ecosystem how the diversity varies. So basically we ask questions like what are the genetic, species and the ecological diversity in the marine environment, why the diversity varies from habitat to habitat, location to location, time to time within a given locality, and what causes these diversification and specification. One small statistics I will give you is that close to 2.2 million species are present in the marine environment according to the study done in 2011 by Mora et al. And almost 1500 new creatures in the world ocean is being added every year. However, I would like to emphasize 91% of the ocean species are yet to be classified and 95% of the oceans remain unexplored. So, the total number of the species that live in the ocean is, we can fairly say, it's unknown. However, among the three topics like marine ecology or biodiversity or functional biology, we can study, but before that it is better or it is important to understand how the life have originated and how the ocean and the sea itself has evolved. So I will give a possibility that how the origin of the sea and the marine life might have evolved on the planet Earth. We can understand the origin through a timeline. First and the foremost, around 5 billion years ago, dusts, rocks, swirling gases were pulled together due to the gravity of the sun and the other planets, and it formed a mass of the gases. Now close to 4.5 billion years ago, the earth might have looked like this, but the temperature is higher, close to 1200 degrees Celsius. At that time there may be carbon, nitrogen and some water vapor. At that geological time scale, there was a collision of the earth with the another planet Theia, which at present you can understand of the size of the planet Mars. It collided with a 10 meter per second and it causes a huge blast. Tons of the debris went into the space, which gave rise to the moon due to the gravity. Now Theia's core and the mantle mixed with the earth cores and the mantle. At that particular time point, the moon has been formed, and which is made up of 70 to 90% of the Theia, which is a, and only 10 to 30% of the proto earth material. At that time when the moon was formed, it was just 22,000 kilometer away, as opposed to present which is close to 400,000 kilometer away. At that point earth was rotating at a very faster rate, you can understand the daytime was hardly 6 hours. Now that has happened millions of years. Coming back into the timeline, close to 3.9 billion years ago, the debris in the space which was left out after the massive collision of the Earth and the Theia, right? Those meteoroids or those debris were showered on the planet from all the different directions on the planet Earth. As a result, these meteoroids, which were having the salt crystals, and these salt crystals had tiny droplets of the water, as a result, these bombardment, which lasted for 20 million years, has generated a pool of water on the solid ground of the earth. Now, the earth crust or the core, which was very hot, and the surface cooled down, which helped in the formation of the earth crust, right? So the core of the earth was still hot, and the surface cooled down because of the presence of the water, which helped in the formation of the crust. Megastorms were very much prevalent at that time because of the fast earth rotation and the huge tide due to closer moon. As I said in the previous slide, that the moon at that time was just 22,000 kilometer away as opposed to 400,000 kilometer at present. And this is this water which came in meteors, collected and give rise to the oceanic water at least billions of years ago. So hundred of millions of years the process might have gone, and around 3.8 billion years ago the earth relax, the spin slows, wave comes and move is going further away from the earth. At that time also the island might have formed, because we have to remember the earth core was still hot, and the that have caused the volcanic eruptions. From the volcano the lava might have came from the core and it cooled down to form the volcanic island. Now how the volcanic island looks like is here. I have given example of an island of Ischia, which is in the central part of the Italy. You can see that you can see one of the volcanic island at present. Even at that time there were continuous shower of the meteor violently on the earth, and we have to remember the first time or initially when the meteor shower was happening, at that time we did not had the water. After millions of years, these meteors which were continuously violently showered on the planet earth dissolved in the water, and they released their minerals to the bottom of the ocean. And at that time might be the carbon and the primitive proteins or amino acids have been formed on the planet earth. In the bottom of the sea, this water might have entered into the cracks of the crust, mixed with the mineral and the gases, and while bringing up into the water it would have created a recipe of the chemical soup. If we look, this is the origin of the life. Most probably one theory says, however I will come to the theories little later, but one theory says that some of the organic molecules might have came from the meteors, or otherwise you can see that the combination has happened where the inorganic molecules and the organic molecules combine to form the primitive or origin of the life. Further, 3.5 billion years ago the microbial reef would have been created by the cyanobacteria, and this is we know because of the presence of the living stromatolites, which I will be showing you into the next slide, at least several places at present on the planet earth. So what these stromatolites are? They are growing from the seabed, colony of the multiple bacteria performing the photosynthesis. So let us go and look how the stromatolite looks like. At least at two present living stromatolites are present, one in the Bahamas and the other one in the Shark Bay in the Western Australia. As you can see that they are the structure coming from the surface of the seabed to the surface in a very shallow environment, and it is made up of the microbial mat which secretes the geological structure in the form of the carbonate materials, right. Let us go back and see, when you look stromatolites, they are doing the photosynthesis because they are made up of blue green algae or cyanobacteria. Now due to the photosynthesis, oxygen is released into the seawater. These oxygen reacts with the iron present in the seawater, forming the rust and deposits in the iron rich rock, right. These oxygen are not only limited to the seawater but also goes into the atmosphere over 2 billion years. For the 2 billion years, the oxygen went into the atmosphere. Coming down in the timeline, around 1.5 billion year ago, Earth rotation reached close to 16 hours, so longer daytime. It is already a home to primitive life, as I said, the presence of the blue-green algae and stromatolites, right? At that time, in that particular time scale, the Earth crust breaks into the plates due to the hot core. Remember, I said that the Earth core is still hot, and that has caused the break of the Earth crust into the plates. These plates breaks and push together to form a supercontinent called as Rodinia. And of course, the oxygen keeps evolving in the shallow water because of the presence of the stromatolites. So around 750 million years ago, deep earth crust heat forced the supercontinent. You remember we talked about the Rodinia supercontinent in the previous slide. So that supercontinent teared apart into separate landmass, as you can see here, and as a result of which the space which was created because of the separation in the landmass was filled with the water, and thereby causing the formation of the sea. So in the sea we can see it is near to the landmass, it is shallower than the open ocean, and that is how the sea was originated or sea was created. Massive volcanoes erupted, bringing the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide mixed with the water and also causing the acid rain, right? These all carbon dioxide were absorbed by the rocks. Now these rocks locked the carbon into themselves, and as a result of which the atmospheric carbon dioxide started decreasing, causing the weather to become cold, and that has given rise to the coldest ice age of the planet Earth. How? Let us understand the sequence. Since the atmospheric carbon dioxide started decreasing around 650 million year ago, from the place where you can see presently Australia is, the ice formation has started in both the side, and it has submerged the entire earth into ice, and the ice reflected sunlight. More and more cold waves came in, causing faster ice sheet of at least 3 kilometer depth. So the process when the earth was totally submerged with the ice is called as snowball earth. Around 625 to 600 million year ago, this snowball earth started melting, mainly because of the heat coming from the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and which is released by the volcanic activities. Now at that time when the earth is submerged with the snow, no rocks are there, so the additional carbon dioxide which came from the volcano was not absorbed by the rocks because of the presence of the snow, and that has lead to increase in carbon dioxide fill into the atmosphere. As a result, the temperature increased and snowball earth phase gone and the snow disappeared. At that time, ultraviolet radiation might have reacted with the water molecules and formed the H2O2. So with the decline in the ice, this oxygen might have been released into the atmosphere. Down the line, around 540 million years ago, below the snow in the ocean might be the primitive bacteria would be evolving into the plants and the animals. And it is predicted at this time the new generation of complex multicellularity has been evolved. Why and how the multicellularity evolved, that we will see little later, but right now we can see it is the era where the Cambrian explosion happened and bigger size of the organisms were present on the planet Earth. There are debates and there are hypotheses, there are researchers across the world who have been working to find out that when the earth was covered with the snow, then how the life originated into multicellularity, how the Cambrian explosion happened. There are several hypotheses behind it. One such is that there might be the formation of the oxygen oasis below the ice where the glacier meets the sea, and at that place the life would have been evolving into multicellularity. We have the fossils which says that close to 540 million years ago we have the fossils for trilobites, which latter might have given rise to the crustaceans. We do have Anomalocarius, which is thought to prey on the trilobites. So basically, the evolution of the prey predator might have originated somewhere at that time. And then we also have the fossil for Picaya. Picaya is the first spine or first spinal organism supposed to be, which may have evolved into the future spines. So these are some of the uh, fossil of the organisms around 540 million years ago. Around 375 million years ago, life might have originated on land because of the formation of the ozone into the atmosphere and make the land more viable place to live. Moses might have colonized to the land, and then we have this tiktaalik fish which swim in the water, which might have came to land, and then this particular fin might have evolved as a function of the leg, and over the 15 million years many animals would have originated on the planet Earth. However, the life on the Earth is not just evolving and expanding. There have been several mass extinctions reported. For example, Ordovician Silurian extinction around 440 million years ago, where 86% of the biodiversity was lost. At that time, as I have said in the previous slide, most of the diversity was in the marine environment. So most of the species which would have lost during this extinctions belongs to the marine organisms. Similarly, late Denovian extinction close to 365 million years ago, again majority of the life forms might be evolved into the sea. So 75% loss, a major chunk of this 75% would have happened into the marine environment. And then we have this Permian Triassic extinction where 96% loss has happened, the very famous Triassic Jurassic extinction where 80% of the loss has happened. Then we have the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction around 66 million years ago, and at present in the Holocene extinction, which has started, let's say, around 11,700 years ago till present, the extinction, the sixth extinction phase is going on. So now we have understood that how the oceans might have originated, how the sea might have originated, how the life in the marine environment has originated. There are several hypotheses about the origin of the life. I will discuss two here. First is that Opera and Helden hypothesis, that is origin of life hypothesis, where the Opera and Helden has suggested that life originated gradually from the inorganic molecule with building blocks like amino acid forming first and then combining to make the complex polymer. However, at that time it was just a hypothesis, and where the Operand and Helden suggested that the life originated in the ocean when the atmosphere was reducing, containing hydrogen, water, ammonia, methane, carbon dioxide, but no free oxygen. However, this hypothesis was tested by the Urey and Miller in a very famous Urey-Miller experiment, that is also called as Urey-Miller experiment, where the water has been taken and then boiled, converted into water vapor. In the bowl or in the experimental setup, you have the methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and all those environment which was suggested by the Operan and Helden, and then condensed it. When the sample was tested for the chemical analysis, it was indeed found that the amino acids are present. At that time, if I am not wrong, the experiment was done somewhere in 1950s, and the sample was stored. Few years back, close to 10 to 15 years back, the sample was again tested, and it was indeed found that many of the amino acids are present in the primordial soup. However, many of the critics says this model may not be a very accurate one because the early atmosphere was not probably reducing, and it is unclear that the pool at the shallow water may be the place for the first life. However, the gist or the central part of the hypothesis is still the origin of the life hypothesis today. The second hypothesis, which says that the organic molecules might have came from the outer space through the meteoroids. Simple chemical precursors can be present in the space and under the conditions which is existing in the space. One meteorite which came from the Mars, ALH84001, right? It has the organic molecules with multiple ring structures. There were another meteorites that is called as Murchison meteoroid, which carried the nitrogenous bases as well as a wide variety of amino acids. So these are the two hypotheses for the origin of the life. Life has been originated. Now, where it has originated, that is always a subject of a debate. One very recent paper which came from a group of researchers from NASA said that the promotion of the protocell self-assembly from mixed amphiphiles at the origin of the life. The experiment was conducted in the JPL hydrothermal reactor, and it has been found, or it has been suggested, that the life might have originated near to the hydrothermal vent into the deep ocean. Wherever the life might have originated, whether into the shallow water or into the deep sea, there are enough reasons to believe that life might have originated into the marine environment. Now, why on the earth multicellularity have evolved? If the unicellular organisms were very much successful for billions of years and performing the photosynthesis, performing, I mean, living happily, then what would have lead to the evolution of multicellularity? In the timeline we have seen, for a major portion in the geological time scale, we have the unicellular organisms. But why multicellularity evolved? Many researchers are continuously studying this concept and trying to find out the reason, but the most probably reason is cooperation. So animals have evolved a considerable diversity of cell types in the multicellular body, and when you combine or when you put the cells together in a cooperation way, then maybe that is the reason why the multicellularity might have evolved. And the idea is that one cell does one function, the second cell does the second function, may use the outcome from the first cell as a substrate or as a initial input, and then the second makes third. Like that, there is a cooperation that might have lead to the multicellularity in the species. And if that functions disrupt, it can lead to the diseases such as cancer. When we talk about the multicellularity, multicellularity has evolved at least 25 times across the life forms, and it has at least evolved in 6 different groups: in animals, in fungi, in brown algae, in red algae, green algae, and the land plants. A very recent, not very recent paper, but a very famous paper came in 2010 on the brown algae Ectocarpus, which is a filamentous brown algae. When the genome was studied, it was found that the evolution of multicellularity in the brown algae is independent, and it is not similar to what to the red algae or to the land plant in the green algae. So the independent evolution might have evolved in brown algae. So similar to that, we have a multicellularity evolution in animals, fungi, brown algae, red algae, green algae, and the land plants. Several different hypotheses of multicellularity. For example, the predation hypothesis. One such example, one such lab-based experiment which was done on Chlamydomonas, and when the Chlamydomonas was grown for 750 generations, about a year in the presence of predator, at that time the Chlamydomonas came together and then it formed a larger this kind of structure, which indicates that the predation can lead to a selection or can act as a selection pressure to form the multicellular organism. Then there are another several different hypotheses are there, like cellularization theory, where the cells may have two different cells, one for the reproductive cell, one for the somatic cell. Then there are theories like colonial theory, where for example in the protists such as Volvox, where the unicellular flagellated protists can combine together and make an aggregate like this. So this could be a colonial theory. Then oxygen availability hypothesis. So for 2 billion years, uh, from 3.5 to 1.5, the oxygen were keep on generating into the atmosphere, and that might have led enough oxygen through which the multicellular life could be supported. Then there is a snowball earth hypothesis. So there are several different hypotheses which has been given for the generation of the multicellularity. Symbiosis theory, there are studies which are going on which says that the symbiosis happens between the two cells, which leads to the evolution of the multicellularity. There are several different examples given here. If you are more interested in understanding different hypotheses, I would suggest a paper which is done by the Christina, researcher in the University of Washington, on the evolution on the bright side of the life, microorganism and the evolution of the mutualism. So, in a nutshell, if we look into the geological time scale, for a large part for the living organism, we have the bacteria and the archaea, it means the unicellular life forms, and very recent in comparison to the unicellular life form, the eukaryotes have evolved, and in a very recent geological time scale, we have the plants and the animals evolved on the planet Earth. So, if you are interested in understanding better the timetable of the evolution, there is a very nice review article in the Science Advances, which is titled as the timetable of evolution. I would suggest you to read that. So, we have seen how the life might have originated into the marine environment, and it has diversified over the years, and you can see plenty of microscopic organism, plenty of the marine organisms across the different zonation in the marine environment, and those things are being studied the marine biology. These organisms are being studied for their functional biology, ecology and the biodiversity. So that's it. Thank you for the session.